I'm Jesse. How do I say this? That feels weird to say. As you can tell, I'm under the weather and so's my dogs. Hey, stop. No, stop eating the house. I'm Jesse and would you stop it? Probably the toughest thing for me to deal with is the small setbacks that always get in the way of getting things done in my life. Jesus teaches that if we do a good job, that we will be given more things. These small setbacks in life limit what I'm able to do. They make it so that I don't have many things because I don't have time. It takes 20 minutes to make a 2-minute video because of the constant noise. That's because Jesus doesn't trust me with 2 minutes to do 2 minutes of work. He only trusts me with 20 minutes to get 2 minutes of work done. And I've got to be trustworthy. Jesus thinks I'm only worth 2 minutes of 20 minutes of my time. Once I'm good and responsible with that, Jesus might take away the setbacks. So I get 2 minutes worth of work done in 10 minutes. Those small setbacks that get in my way are the biggest frustration for me. And that is the single biggest thing that I struggle with. And I still struggle with it to this day. The more and more I have learned to be patient, the more responsibility Jesus has given me. I'm Jesse, and I'm an apostle. That feels really weird to say, but it feels good because I've been carrying that with me for the last 22 years. I'm just telling you this to be honest, so I'm not deceiving. I've been carrying that with me and not telling anyone because just that seems like a not nice thing to say. And it's really been eating me up. And I feel that the Lord is telling me it's okay to tell people that I've been called as an apostle and that I've known that for 22 years. And that I was sent out and commissioned 12 years ago and didn't even know it. I first realized that God called me to be an apostle in 2003. And that I didn't know, but I was commissioned as an apostle in 2013. And both of those deserve an entire separate video all to themselves. There's so much involved in it. I did tell some of the older, more mature Christians in my hometown. There have been a few pastors that I've shared that with for full disclosure, so they're not surprised. Never, ever once did I ever tell anyone, I'm an apostle, you need to obey me. That's not how apostles work. What is an apostle? We haven't had apostles since the Apostle Paul was beheaded, and they didn't come back until the 1980s. And that deserves a whole other video to explain. There's too much to talk about. I'm not going to make all this make sense in a short video. It's just, this is going to bring a lot of questions. We should ask, what in the world does that mean to be an apostle? That's a good question. And that deserves a whole video series on it. Apostles in the New Testament are not the same as end times apostles. Apostles in the New Testament wrote the New Testament. End times apostles interpret the New Testament for the end times. They don't write scripture. That's a different thing. They have a different job. Some people, they hear that apostle and they think, oh, so you think you're a big shot. Apostles only exist in Christianity. It's a Greek word. It's exclusively a Christian idea. Christianity doesn't have big shots. Jesus teaches very clearly that anyone who's a leader is everyone's servant. So if an apostle is any kind of leader, why wouldn't they be a servant? Why would I think anything other than that? Why would anyone? That's just weird to me when people think that I'm a big shot when I just tell them that to be honest. So anyone who thinks that being an apostle means being a big shot, it's like, did they read their Bibles? Yes, I have seen the Lord's face. In order to be an apostle, you must have seen the Lord. And I know what his face looks like. And I know what his hair looks like, and I'm not going to tell you. But I will say that when God made sheep, he put his hair on the sheep. They don't style it as well as he styles his hair. But sheep are walking around bleeding, with God's hair. So humble of him to do that it scared me. When I saw God's face, I was scared because of how humble his hair was, because it looked like a sheep. Well styled, well groomed, but it was a sheep's hair. I'm shaking saying this. I don't get nervous in front of my own camera. I don't really want to say this, but I need to get that out there, because I can't walk around carrying this anymore, because I'm not being real. I'm not being myself. No one wants to hear what anyone has to say when they're hiding something. And I've been hiding this because it's controversial, and it's thought by most to be a not nice thing to say, because people don't know Christianity, even though they go to church, even though they went to seminary, and they think that being an apostle means being a big shot. Yeah, I'm under the weather. Even apostles get sick. Jesus probably caught the common cold. It strengthens your immune system. I mean, sometimes you're going to get sick. That doesn't mean you're afflicted. I can still make this video, and it proves that I'm human. Do you pray to get rid of every single virus? No. Do you pray instead of exercising at the gym? Do you pray instead of eating extra protein? Do you pray instead of doing your stretches? Do you pray instead of sleeping? Getting a little bit sick sometimes is part of being healthy. Why would you pray for that to go away? One time I was teaching English. We were studying Bible in Taiwan, and my English student kept sneezing and coughing. And I said, look, this is a distraction to our English and Bible lesson, so I'm just going to get rid of this. If it's okay, do you want me to heal you? He said, yeah. So I just touched his forehead. He stopped sniffling, and the whole cold went away, and we continued with our English Bible class. He thought that was kind of fun. Can apostles heal people? Probably. But John the Baptist was the greatest of all prophets, and he did no miracles. He only pointed to Jesus. Nowhere is there any standard from the Bible or from the early church recognizing the apostles in the New Testament by saying that they had to do miracles. There's no basis for that. Some people might invent that on their own, but that doesn't mean it's true. So what is an apostle in a nutshell? It's not a bishop. That's a church job. An apostle is not a job in a church. There's nothing like an apostle in the world. It's kind of like a prophet because God chooses them. The best, closest way to really understand an apostle without going to the long video is to think of a director who sits on the board of a public company. One director on the board can't decide everything by himself or herself, but each director can see everything happening in that company because of transparency. They have access to all the information, and people might tell them stuff. They'll find out. You're not going to hide stuff from the board of directors in a company. The people on the board do not boss around the employees. They don't have the power to do that. They can't. No one would want them. Other board members would fire them. The shareholders would fire them. The directors of a board only deal with very big picture questions like the mission of the company. They can hire and fire the CEO, maybe a few others like a CFO or COO or a president. Beyond that, they don't really do much. They'll give advice. Unlike a board of directors, apostles don't have to vote with other apostles. That would be more like a bishop. An apostle is sent by Jesus himself, by God. They're not approved by the church. The church is approved through them. So an apostle can hire and fire by talking to Jesus only. Doesn't have to tell anyone. An apostle can pray to Jesus. I see this. I think that's good. Listen to the Lord and agree with the Lord in prayer. And then something can happen. But it's up to the Lord. An apostle can take a situation to the Lord, and then the Lord will do what he wants. The apostles don't get to decide things unilaterally. Probably the biggest thing is that when God sends an apostle, God will protect that apostle. I was talking with a Bible study leader in Taiwan, and I told him, just between us, that I was an apostle. And he said to me, I got a question for you. It's going to hurt. I said, okay, ask. And he said, I don't think you're an apostle. I said, all right, where's the question? He said, no, that's it. I said, oh, I thought there was a question. He said, no. I said, oh, Huh. Why would he tell me his opinion of whether I'm an apostle? I didn't ask him. I don't need people to agree with that. I don't ask people to agree that I'm an apostle. Don't believe me. It's fine. I don't care. I'm just letting you know so that I'm not carrying this secret with me. If you don't believe it, keep that to yourself. I don't care. Why did he tell me that? And why did he think it would hurt? Maybe he thinks that an apostle is a big shot. I took this to the Lord. I said, Lord, I want you to forgive him and just forgive him. Lord had other plans. He was riding his bicycle, and all of a sudden, a muddy mud puddle just leapt out of nowhere and seemed to grab his bicycle and threw him down on the ground, and he broke his collarbone. Like, it was a weird freak accident. He didn't even see it, and all of a sudden, he couldn't escape it. It was weird. He wasn't even going fast, and he had his collarbone broken. He and I were talking a few days before I left Taiwan to return to America. For the most part, he was friendly, but at one point, he got a little bit feisty with me, and I said, you told me over the phone that you had a question for me and that it was going to hurt, but there wasn't a question, but it did hurt. Don't challenge me on that, because you know what the Lord will do now. I'm not asking anything. I'm not asking you to buy my books because I'm an apostle. I ask nothing. I'm just letting you know. But the one thing I'm confident of is this one thing. When people decide to get all upset and offended when I merely, for your information, I happen to be an apostle and I'm an ordinary dude and God sent me. That's it. I say that and they find a way to get upset. Hey, don't listen to me. God goes after them, because God defends his apostles. Even if I ask God to be nice to him, he's not. God defends the people that he sends out. And so I'm an apostle. What's that to you? What's that to anybody who God sends? And I don't say any more than that. I don't boss people around. I don't order them what to do. It really hurts. Pastors who should know better start shouting with anger, unchristian anger. Start shouting at me, ignoring me, lying, refuse to talk to me. That's against the Bible. It really makes me sad when I see people behave that way. Somehow, God's doing what he wants. In some ways, it reminds me of Samson. Samson was one of the judges. Samson was not a teacher. He did not hear cases and give judgments. Deborah did. Gideon did. But Samson didn't. Samson was just strong. He liked Philistine women and he hated Philistine men. And Samson did whatever he wanted and Israel was safe. And that was it. That was one of the judges. Apostles, they can be kind of like that. I don't really boss anybody around. I don't tell people what they have to do. But I do know I'm an apostle. That's it. And for some reason, all the demon-possessed pastors decide to attack me and they self-destruct and their friends turn away from them. I don't even tell them I'm an apostle. That's the thing. I don't even tell them I'm an apostle. They just attack me, and I think it's because I'm an apostle. I'm not your boss. I'm not your guru. I'm not better than you. I'm an ordinary guy. I'm an ordinary dude. I did study Bible in college. I have deep knowledge of the Bible. I've written 90,000 words of theological research. I wrote 100,000 words of biblical research to translate the book of Revelation. I've done Bible work. I know Linux. I love sports. I film skateboard. I play piano and love music. I lived in Taiwan 15 years and I know Mandarin. Yes, I can speak some Chinese. 我可以讲中文一点。可以给你讲的。I probably have other stuff I know how to do that I can't remember, but I'm familiar with a lot of stuff. But I'm just an ordinary guy. I'm Jesse, and I'm an apostle. If you have to, deal with it. If you don't care, great, we can probably be friends. This is not my apostle channel. I have another channel with kind of podcast, let's talk stuff. That's the coffee channel. This channel has more carefully produced videos. I'm Jesse.